space. The spooky frontier. Welcome to Scary Season. I love this time of year, and I went back and forth on whether I wanted to cover just horror episodes for October or specifically Halloween episodes, and I chose the latter because I adore horror and I can cover horror at any time of the year because this is my channel and I'll do what I want. I thought I'd combine my love of Halloween with my love of Star Trek, the original series, by covering their only kinda sorta Halloween episode, Catspaw. Okay, it's not strictly Halloween, but they do mention trick or treat a couple of times, and that is good enough for me. I love Star Trek. That's not true. I love some Star Trek, mostly the original series and now Strange New Worlds and Lower Decks. I can't help it, the original characters will probably always be my favorite. Except for Dr. Julian Bashir. He is welcome anytime. He's doing amazing and I'm so proud of him. I feel like I don't need to get deep in the history of Star Trek. You probably already know it if you clicked on this video. Trek endures, Trek survives. Even the Trek I don't like, I'm still grateful it exists. I hope it never dies. But before it was a pop culture staple, it was a struggling little sci-fi series constantly on the verge of cancellation. And thank God it managed to hang on and grow even after it was axed after 3 seasons. We're better as a society because of it. And considering how awful society is right now, can you imagine what kind of a hellscape we'd be in without it? Anyway, Catspaw! Not my favorite episode. Not even in my top 10. But it is significant in a few ways. It was the first episode filmed for season 2, even though it aired later in the season. That means that my boy DeForest Kelley was added to the opening credits. Yay! He got that well-deserved promotion. That also makes it the first episode that Walter Koenig shot as Chekhov. Yay! I guess. Some people care about that. Furthermore, that makes it the first and honestly one of the few episodes to feature all 7 of the core cast, the big 3 and the little 4, and that is nice. I do appreciate that. Catspaw was written by Robert Bloch of all people, the man who wrote the novel Psycho, but he wasn't just a novelist. He's got quite a list of television credits and a few film credits. He wrote several stories for Alfred Hitchcock Presents and the Alfred Hitchcock Hour. Unsurprising. He did an episode of Gemini Man. It really amazes me how many times I run into people who have worked on that show that didn't even make it a whole season. And also Ben Murphy hated working on it. Damn it! He wrote 3 episodes of Star Trek, and none of them are great in my opinion. Besides Catspaw, he wrote Wolf in the Fold, where Scotty has to be cured of his misogyny, and Jack the Ripper is an ancient alien. According to IMDb, Bloch wrote quite a few stories about Jack the Ripper, which begs the question, was Robert Bloch Jack the Ripper? Have I solved the case? Unsure. We'll look into it further. And finally, Bloch wrote the episode What Little Girls Are Made Of. That's an episode that I used to just completely write off because A, McCoy isn't in it, and I find that to be an unforgivable sin, and B, it's the Nurse Chapel episode, and who gives a fuck about the original series Nurse Chapel? Sadly, due to Strange New Worlds, it is now an episode that is ruining my hopes and dreams. So thanks a lot, Mr. Bloch. The episode was directed by Joseph Pevney, and Pevney started out as an actor. He's got a few film credits to his name in the late 40s, but in the 50s he turned to directing, and he had a huge output of films throughout that decade. In the 1960s, he started directing for television. He did 24 episodes of Wagon Train, and 11 of The Munsters. 14 for Trek, including classics like The Devil in the Dark, The City on the Edge of Forever, Amok Time, Journey to Babel, and The Trouble with Tribbles. After Trek ended, he kept on trekking. He worked on Bonanza, Adam 12, Medical Center, and the TV movie Who is the Black Dahlia. His last credit on IMDb was directing several episodes of Trapper John. There's only a few guest stars this week, so I will go through them. Antoinette Bowers as Sylvia. Bowers was born in Germany, spent a lot of time in London, and then moved with her family to Canada. She worked in radio and television in Canada and eventually made the move to LA. She worked on shows like The Aquanauts, Thriller, Have Gun Will Travel, and The Man from U.N.C.L.E. She did have some film credits, but it's mostly television. And she apparently thought of herself as a character actor and not a leading lady. So good for her. I hope she enjoyed her career. Her last credit was 42 episodes of a show that I've never heard of called Neon Rider that lasted 64 episodes. Reading about it, it kind of sounds like a Michael Landon show if Michael Landon had still been alive to make it. As of this recording, Bowers is still alive. Next up is Theodore Marcuse as Korob, and this is really horrible. He actually died in a car accident a month after this episode aired, and he was only 47. In his life, he earned a Silver Star for his service in World War II. He worked on Broadway, doing a lot of Shakespeare work. He worked on the stage with Judith Anderson, who Trek fans will know played T'Lar in Star Trek III. He played a lot of villains, but like comical villains, and he managed to rack up a ton of credits between 1950 and his death in 1967. Dragnet, The Monkees Get Smart, Perry Mason, Hogan's Heroes, and Batman. And finally we have Michael Barrier as Assistant Chief Engineer DeSalle. Barrier was not a professional actor for very long. His career was pretty much confined to the 1960s. He guest starred on a lot of popular shows. Again, Bonanza, Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea, Combat, and Mission Impossible. Oh, and he had an uncredited role as a helicopter pilot in the movie The Satan Bug. And I like that movie, so I had to mention it. He was in 3 Star Trek episodes as DeSalle. This one, The Squire of Gothos, and This Side of Paradise. What happened to DeSalle after this? I don't know, he probably died on the Vol planet. Everyone else did. IMDb says that he retired from acting and went to law school. After passing the bar, he joined the U.S. Coast Guard and served as a lawyer for the military for years. Cool. Good for him. He just passed away this year at age 90. Catspaw aired on October 27th, 1967. It ran against Gomer Pyle, USMC on CBS, and the short-lived Hondo on ABC. Both programs showed new episodes. Now, let's Trek, baby! We open on Kirk worried that his landing party, including Scotty and Sulu, has not checked in yet. Uhura manages to make contact with the token gold shirt? That's not right. He's supposed to be wearing red. Anyway, that guy's name is Jackson, and he requests a beam up. Kirk and McCoy head to the transporter room to meet him. Jackson does beam up and promptly falls over dead. I must say, it's a very impressive fall by stuntman Mr. J.D. Jones. Jones did stunt for multiple Trek episodes and played bit parts in several other episodes. Bones declares that Jackson is dead. Does he ever actually try to revive anyone? I mean, anyone who's not Kirk or Spock? Then the first bit of silliness happens. A disembodied voice comes out of Jackson's dead, gaping mouth. I guess that could be creepy, maybe, if done correctly, but it's not here. The voice tells them that the ship is cursed and they should leave or they'll all die and blah blah blah. Kirk's heard this threat before. It only encourages him. And we get to the new Season 2 opening credits with DeForest Kelley joining William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy. It still makes me happy. After that, since Kirk can't leave Scotty and Sulu, even though James Doohan and George Takei hated Shatner the most, he beams down with his 2 besties, Spock and McCoy, and leaves Assistant Chief Engineer DeSalle in charge of the ship. Okay. Who is DeSalle, you might ask? Who is he as a character? As a man? What are his motivations? His hopes and dreams? Who the hell knows? It doesn't matter. The line of people in charge of the ship, as I understand it, goes Kirk, Spock, Scotty, Sulu. And since they're all on the planet and we certainly can't give the bridge to Uhura, what with her being a woman and all, we just put some other white guy to be in charge. Sorry, Uhura, you'll have to wait for the animated series before you get to have the bridge. Anyway, our throuple lands on a spooky planet filled with fog and scary atmospheric music. Spock picks up some life signs, but they can't be sure it's Scotty and Sulu. Kirk contacts the Enterprise about it, and looky here, introducing Pavel Chekhov and his terrible wig. I don't know how true the story is that they created his character to have a cute younger guy on the series like Davy Jones, but if that's true, in my opinion, they failed spectacularly. Walter Koenig is no Davy Jones. Davy Jones was cute. Walter Koenig is just not. At all. Yeah, The thing about Chekhov is I don't like him. Sincerely, I do not like that character. I like the Kelvin version of that character. He's precious, but this one sucks. I'm sorry, say what you want about Star Trek the Animated Series, but at least Chekhov wasn't in it. Anyway, acting Captain DeSalad, or whatever his name is, doesn't register any life signs except for the triumvirate. And then typically the ship loses contact with the planet. Kirk and his boy toys walk around some more looking for the life signs before 3 ghostly witches appear to wail out another warning to go back, helpfully reminding them that they have cursed the Enterprise. It's so cheesy and I love it so much. Kirk is like, "Spock! Explain!" And Spock responds with, "Very bad poetry, Captain." Hey, Spock, don't criticize the writing. That's what I'm doing. And in any case, I'm not even sure what they said qualifies as poetry. If it does, then okay, I'll agree with Mr. Spock, it is very bad. They follow the life signs that they're still picking up, and the wind picks up and blows them right into the sight of a creepy dark castle. Spock declares that the life signs are coming from inside. And what have they got to lose? They go on in, and are immediately jump-scared by a pissed-off black cat. Kirk theorizes that someone could very well be playing an elaborate trick-or-treat on them. Spock asks what trick-or-treat means, and Kirk takes a not very veiled shot at Spock's ears by saying he'd be a natural at it. So, you see, it's not just Bones who makes cracks like that. Back on the ship, Chekhov has lost the captain's life signal. Another job well done by Chekhov, and Deshu helpfully tells him to just keep trying. The flagship of the fleet, everybody. Meanwhile, the trio follows the cat for a bit until it leads them to a weak spot on the floor, and they fall through. Well, that doesn't mean the cat is evil. Any cat would do that. When they regain consciousness, they find they're chained up in a dungeon, next to a hanging skeleton. I love it. Kirk says that everything they've seen are Earth manifestation, like human nightmares. The things that terrify man the most on an instinctive level, says Spock. No, I don't think so, guys. Maybe the things that terrify toddlers on an instinctive level, but I think adults have bigger fears than haunted castles and black cats. Anyway, Scotty and Sulu enter, but our heroes' glee at finding their missing shipmates is short-lived because they seem to be in some kind of a trance, so no help from them. Or is there? Because they do unlock them from their shackles, and just as Kirk and Spock get ready to try and fight them, not Bones, he's a doctor, not a brawler, damn it, the whole group is transported into a horribly gaudy throne room / banquet hall, dining room, I don't know. And waiting for them is a space wizard. And the cat. The space wizard says his name is Korob, and he is not a native to the planet. Spock speculates that the cat is the wizard's familiar. Kirk says that that's just superstition, and Spock's like, "I did not create the legend, I merely report it." Which for him is a pretty bitchy thing to say, good for him. McCoy tells Korob that Spock doesn't know about trick-or-treat. Korob says that he doesn't understand that reference either, therefore it is of no importance. The confidence, the audacity. I wish I could just say that everything I don't understand is of no importance. The space wizard uses his space wand to create a large feast at the table and insists the trio sit down. And honestly, the food looks a lot better than their usual Play-Doh-colored cubes that they pretend are future food. Then he creates a bunch of jewels because he knows that they are what Earth people prize above all else. Well, our boys are thoroughly unimpressed. They can make those on the ship if they wanted. The cat leaves the room and re-enters as a woman because they couldn't afford an on-screen transformation. Give them a break. They can't even afford shirts that fit correctly. Seriously, Kirk's shirts ride up so high sometimes they might as well be crop tops. Anyway, Korob introduces his colleague as Sylvia, and she is giving old Elizabeth Taylor energy. Like 90s Elizabeth Taylor with the huge hair. And Korob seems already exasperated by her. She explains that Scotty and Sulu are merely being mind-controlled. And McCoy has already stopped listening. He's just ogling Sylvia because he's a dirty old man. But he's my dirty old man. Kirk manages to get a phaser away from Scotty, but Sylvia is unconcerned. They depowered their weapons. And she holds up a tiny version of the Enterprise on a chain. She dangles it over the flame of a candle and tells Kirk to try and contact the ship. The ship, which is currently heating up at an alarming rate. They show a close-up of Chekhov's disgusting, sweaty face, and ugh, cut away, cut away! Desnor can't do anything about it, and Kirk says he'll handle it. Sylvia takes the tiny Enterprise away from the flame and says that the ship is safe for now. While they're having this discussion, Shatner pronounces telekinesis as telekinesis. Bill, goddammit! Korob starts to explain all about their powers and backstory, and Sylvia is like, shut up, stupid man. They take the tiny Enterprise and lock it in a case of glass. This locks the real Enterprise inside of a force field, so they can't contact the planet or really do anything except just hang out, maybe play Truth or Dare, spin the bottle, whatever they do when all the senior officers are gone. Kirk refuses to speak with the aliens anymore, so Korob has them taken back to their cells. Well, Kirk and Spock anyway. He's keeping McCoy. No! Not Bones! Take Chekhov instead! I really wish they would stop cutting back to the ship this episode. The only person up there I give a shit about is Uhura, and of course she doesn't get to do anything. I will say that Michael Barrier as DeSalle is giving it his all. Like, he really wants that recurring gig. Too bad for him this is his last appearance. But we'll always remember him as the guy who got to be captain before Uhura. Wonderful. Meanwhile, back in the dungeon, Kirk gets antsy after 22 minutes, according to Spock. Come on, Kirk, you can hold out longer than that. He wonders what they're doing to Bones, but he calls him Doc, which weirds me out. He does it in at least one other episode, Return of the Archons, where Bones also gets mind-controlled, but his name is Bones or Dr. McCoy, not Doc. Stop saying that. Also, Spock calls Kirk Jim in this scene, and it always makes me happy when Spock calls him Jim. Scotty, Sulu, and McCoy come down to bring Kirk up to talk to Sylvia, and Kirk is so sad that Bones has been hypnotized, as am I. I know that Spurk and, to a lesser extent, Spones get all the attention in the shipping fandom, and I get it, truly, I do. But McKirk delivers, you guys. Korob and Sylvia argue while they're alone. Sylvia is feeling sensation for the first time in her human body. They have nothing like that where they come from. Yeah, this idea will be explored better in the episode by any other name. Korob says that they have a duty to the old ones, which I guess means Lovecraft's monsters. Anyway, and that Sylvia is cruel for torturing their specimens. She defends herself by saying that torturing is also a new sensation, and she likes it. She intends to keep on living this way, regardless of what Korob or Cthulhu wants. Kirk is brought in, and she wants to be alone with him. Who wants to take bets that there will be kissing before this scene ends? She asks him what power feels like, and that's Kirk's cue. He knows that it's time to start seducing. Every life form in the galaxy is helpless when he turns on the old Kirk charm. Korob is spying on them this whole time, by the way. She's all, "What is kiss?" You know, the usual hot alien dialogue, and yep, there they go, swap and spit. And then she transforms her look a few times, and each look is worse than the last. I mean, the outfits. The hair. Come on, 60s, get your shit together. More kissing, and she tells Kirk that something called the transmuter is the source of the illusions that they're creating. She finally gets clued in that he's just using her for info, and she is shocked. Shocked, I say! She throws a woman fit about it because she's on her space period or something, and Kirk goes back to the dungeon. A short while later, Korob comes down and frees our heroes, and releases the Enterprise as well. He gives them back their phasers and communicators and tells them to go. But Kirk is not leaving without Bones. And those other guys, whoever they are. Kirk and Spock follow Korob through the castle, but uh-oh, I hear an angry kitty cat. Yeah, Sylvia's back into the cat, but the cat is now a giant cat. Spock then says that cats are the most feared animals on Earth. Yeah, once again, I don't think so, Spock. Please, learn more about your human heritage. You are embarrassing yourself. I love that they have this cat walking through a little model to pretend that it's huge. It's just so endearing, and I want to pet the kitty. Korob leads them back to where they fell through the floor, and Kirk boosts Spock back up. Then the giant Sylvia cat busts through the door, which falls on Korob and crushes him. Doesn't seem like it's that heavy, but whatever. Kirk grabs the space wand and Spock pulls him up. But Zombie, Bones, Scotty, and Sulu are ready to fight. Kirk knocks Bones out, but then he kind of holds him for a second because you'd never want to hurt Bones. Spock nerve pinches Scotty, and Kirk throws Sulu into a door because he don't give a fuck about Sulu. When all three of them are knocked out, Kirk's like, well, at least we found them. Always look on the bright side. Kitty Sylvia is approaching again, very, very slowly, and Kirk grabs the space wand, which is in fact the transmuter. She turns back into Liz Taylor and transports herself and Kirk back to the throne room. She begs him to give him the space wand back, and he's like, no, and breaks the thing. Because remember, if somebody wants to share, just break it so nobody gets it. And then everything around them disappears. Kirk is back on the planet's surface, but there's no fog, no castle, no witches, nothing but rocks. Spock and the others, who are now back to normal, join him. And we see Sylvia and Korob in their true forms. Tiny, little, I don't know, fishing lures? Made out of pipe cleaners? I cannot begin to describe them. Maybe tiny little birds with tentacles on their face? They may look silly, but I actually do applaud the show for trying to make them look something totally unhumanoid. You know, at least they tried. Also, Kirk, you made out with one of those things. And then they both die. For reasons. I mean, I guess Korob, because he got crushed by the door, but I don't know why Sylvia died. Is the transmuter their life force? It's possible I missed some dialogue. Spock says it would be great to study him, but as soon as they keel over, McCoy says it's too late. You could still learn things from their bodies, right? Dissection? Anything? McCoy, you're a doctor, damn it! And Spock, you're a scientist! Take them back to the ship, study them! Whatever. They beam back up to the ship, and that's the end. And it just occurs to me that Scotty and Sulu didn't have any lines. So rude. As I said at the beginning, I don't love this episode. It's cute. I like the old dark house atmosphere. It does put me in the Halloween spirit. But the aliens don't compel me. There isn't any good interpersonal stuff happening with our main characters. It's just kind of there. It doesn't hit the highs that the original series is capable of, but it doesn't go anywhere near the lows either. Also, I have never heard the term Catspaw in my life except for this episode. McCoy says at one point, oh, you used Scotty and Sulu as a catspaw to get us down here, and I looked it up, and apparently it is a phrase or a word that means to, like, dupe somebody, but either it's not a common phrase or it's an old phrase that got phased out. And again, the ideas of this episode are better handled in other episodes. It's really only worth watching because of the Halloween aesthetics, and if you're a Robert Bloch completist, I guess. But for what it is, it's still fun. Just don't expect much depth here. Happy Halloween!